Hi, we are from second group. We will discuss about bias. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Diyah S. Utami. I will explain about bias. A bias is basically when an author is unfair or inaccurate in his or her presentation of something. Bias is when a writer uses a selection of facts, choice of word, or tone of voice reveal his or her biases. In their attempt to persuade, authors often make mistakes in their thinking patterns and writing choices. This is because every author has a point of view. So, because they have this point of view, naturally in their writing, they often will show their point of view through their writing. And so that's when a bias comes into play. So, bias occur when a writer displays a partiality for or prejudice against someone, something, or some idea.
Hello, my name is Putri Dariyah, NIM 196121137. I will explain to you about bias. All authors have biases. There are no unbiased articles. Supporting biases require looking at facts holistically. Each event, policy decisions, and major change in society can be interpreted positively or negatively depending on how the author interprets the events leading up to a major change. The interpretation depends on the ideology and belief system of the author. Clear biases are visible in the adjective used by the author. If the adjectives used are strong like animals, awful, impossible, exalted, terrified. The author is trying hard to associate an emotion with the change. Biases become clear with adjectives. For some authors, the biases are subtle. Strong adjectives are absent. They use facts in place of adjectives to make a point. Most biased authors would have a higher number of opinions over fact.
My name is Iin Novitasari. So, I will go through the three types of bias as follows. The number one, bias in the brain. Cognitive biases originate in the way the brain processes the information that every person encounters every day. Number two, bias in society. Another source of bias comes from society. When people connect directly with their peers, the social biases that guide their selection of friends come to influence the information they see. Number three, bias in the machine. The third group of biases arises directly from the algorithms used to determine what people see online.
Okay, hello, my name is Fatimah A. Here I will tell you about the example of bias in literature. The first example is, by what if it on, and yet within a month, let me nothing on it. Friendly, the name is Woman, from Hamlet by William Shakespeare, Act 1, Scene 2. Although spoken by Hamlet in the play, the slang so biased attitudes of the Elizabeth play works toward feminine gender. Some critics have interpreted these lines as misogynistic attitude of Hamlet that he hates women, let alone his mother from her hasty marriage. What he means is that women are generally frail creatures having no self-control. Therefore, it is a gender bias demonstrated by Hamlet. The second example is, the Jew rubbed his hands and, sitting down at the table, affected to look at the pleasantry of his friend. He was obviously very ill at ease, however. From Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. This is an extract from Charles Dickens' famous novel, Oliver Twist. He has presented the character of Fagin, the Jew. Here Sykes taunts him for his insolence of coming between him and his dog. However, Fagin shows very humble attitude. The language used by Sykes clearly shows stereotyping of the Jews. It comprises contempt and valid prejudice that is also a type of bias.
Critical reading requires that a reader recognize biases in writing. Without this recognition, the reader may become the victim of the writer's propaganda. To identify biases in a passage or article, the reader must read through the material and ask, what does the reader want me to think or to do? Bias is often present in editorials, advertisements, religious publications, and political materials. Bias is prejudice about our learning towards something. An author shows bias by learning out information or by altering facts to force the reader to have a certain opinion about a subject, or to convince the reader to take a certain action.
Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ika Putri P. I want to explain about recognizing bias. Bias means that a statement or question shows a preference for against an idea, an object, or an person. For example, suppose you read the following. Indonesia is a country that has a lot of natural resources, but Indonesia is still included in the category of developing countries. This country is a country that has high unity. Questions like that can be made. 1. How should you judge this statement? 2. Should you agree or not? 3. What does he use to influence you and others? Next, asking questions like that will help you determine whether the author is presenting facts or trying to influence your opinion. Biased information is often used in advertisement for a product, and it might claim that the research study proves the product is better, or it might claim that experts prefer this product over its competitors. Like that, that's all, and thank you.
I will give you the third example. Has she asked the doctor with a smile? Has she been associating of late with a circle of pseudo-intellectual women, super spiritual, superior beings? My wife has been telling me about them. That's the trouble, broke in Mr. Pontellier. She hasn't been associating with anyone. She has abandoned her Thursdays at home, has thrown over all her acquaintances, and goes tramping about by herself, moving in the streetcars, getting in after dark. I tell you she is peculiar. I don't like it. I feel a little worried over it. From The Awakening by Kate Copy. The doctor is clearly against women and assumes that modern women have impacted the mind of Mrs. Pontellier. Mr. Pontellier is describing how his wife, Edna Pontellier, has acted in a different way than a woman having children and her husband should behave. However, the doctor's views reflect his gender bias. Lyons has also verified the comments of a doctor. This shows that both the men are biased against the only female in the story, Edna Pontellier. Okay, maybe this the example. Thanks.
Okay, now I want to explain about the technique used by writer for bias, and there are several common devices or technique. And number one is use of word for emotional effect. It means that words like kami, resik, happy, repellent, pinko, and others as used to promote either a positive or negative response in the reader. So in this technique, in this part, the reader can know what is the negative, the writers know what is the negative or the positive response by the reader. And number 2 is reference to great men. Politician often refers to famous men in the history of our country in order to gain support for their ideas. So in this part can support the ideas of the writers. And number 3 is flattery. The writer may use praise to try to gain a positive reaction from the reader. So in this part the writer can use flattery to know what is the positive reaction from the reader. And number 4 is stacking the cards. Instead of giving an objective description, the writer may give evidence to support only one side of a question and might deliberately omit any opposing ideas. And number 5 is bandwagon. A writer might suggest that everyone is doing something or thinking in a certain way and that the reader should do the same. And the last is play flocks. Many politicians and advertisers try to appeal to common people. Politicians attempt to make voters identify with them by presenting themselves as ordinary people. Okay? This is example from the technique for bias, and I think enough for our presentation about material, and we hope our material can give benefit for us, especially for other people. And we say sorry if in this video give mistake. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.